Okay, it's lovely to be back with everyone and to learn together with you. We're going to be looking at a Mishnah in chapter 5, Mishnah 13, and we'll try and unpiece this Mishnah together. It seems like a very simple Mishnah, but I think the more we investigate, the more we'll realize is found behind the words that are written here. It says the following. Arba midos v'noisnei tzedakah. There are 4 attributes for those that give charity. Now we need to understand that the concept of giving charity is not only the concept of giving charity, but it's also inclusive of all of our forms of activity. Okay, so we're going to see this is an element of when we give of ourselves, when we engage with other people. Okay, so now when we speak about the attributes of giving charity, we're really speaking about the 4 motivations or the 4 different elements that precipitate or animate our activity in this world. So the first one is haroitzesh yitain v'lo yitno acherim. The first individual or the first attribute is that a person wants to give, they want to give, but they don't want other people to give, which is quite an interesting framework. I'm going to ask you to consider what you think that means. What does it mean that you want to give, but you don't want other people to give? It's a bit of an interesting one. Like, why not? If you're already giving, the more the better, no? Why shouldn't other people give as well? And what does that define or shape or color our understanding of the concept of giving? Okay? And the Mishnah says, Einoi ra b'shel acherim. His eyes or his perception of other people's things is problematic. Okay? His eye or he's negative somewhat to others. Yitnu acherim v'hu lo yitein. The next category is that he wants others to give, but he doesn't want to give. Wants others to give, but he doesn't want to give. Eino ra b'shaloi. His eyes or his perception of himself and the things that he has is problematic, is negative. Now, it's an interesting terminology to give a person. I mean, you're dealing with a person that doesn't want to give and he only wants other people to give. I mean, that sounds like an evil person. That sounds like a Rasha. Why is it saying that he's just got a bad perception of himself and the things that he has? You know, it should be much more, negative. Why is he getting off so lightly here? Such an individual. Then the third category is yitain v'yitnu acherim. He should give, or he gives, and others give. Chassid. That is an individual who's a chassid, who's substantially righteous, an individual who really has gone beyond the letter of the law and tried to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through giving and others giving as well. That's a chassid. And then the worst circumstance is lo yitein v'lo yitnu acherim, Rasha, that he doesn't give and others don't give. He doesn't want others to give either. That's an evil person. That's a Rasha. Now, the last one is also a question. We just said that there's 4 categories of those who give. Four categories of those who give. And then what did we just say in the last one? No, there's no giving in this circumstance. He doesn't give or want others to give. How's he found his way into the categories of giving? Very, very strange, yeah? So let's try and use these questions to try and unpack the depth behind this Mishnah and see what we can learn, how we can integrate into a healthier way of giving in our lives, into a healthier engagement with other people. Let's try and understand this, okay? So does anyone have any consideration or ideas about what does it mean that he gives, but he doesn't want other people to give? What's that mentality? What's the psychology behind a person who wants to give but doesn't want others to give. Anyone have a clue here what's going on here? Any suggestions that can help us out on our journey?
He's giving for his ego. His ego's sake. It's about him. It's not about giving.
He wants the nachas.
Yeah, the yichus. The
Nachas.
yichus. Yeah, the yichus. Very good. Okay, thank you, Alan and Ken. Gewaldig. Very, very good way of engaging with this initial part of the Mishnah. Excellent. What is a person, or who is the person that wants to give but doesn't want others to give? Okay? And it says here that there's something problematic about this person, meaning they're giving. They could be giving substantially, but there's something wrong with the person. They've got a bad perception. Something's wrong in terms of their engagement with other people. Essentially, what we're understanding here is what we've heard from Kenny and Alan, and that is we have an individual that gives for accolade. We have an individual that gives to prop themselves up, to feel important, to feel worthy, to feel honored, that they give because they want to feel good about themselves. And when other people are giving too, well, they don't look as good. When they're the only person giving, great, look at me. I got my name, I got this, I got that. But when other people are giving as well, they're not as important anymore. And this can be, firstly, the coloration of any form of doing or giving in our lives. We have to consider, why are we giving? If other people were also doing the same thing, would we feel upset? Would we feel that, we've lost something if other people were doing this as well? It could manifest within a state of religiosity. It could manifest within a state of giving. It could manifest in all forms of doing. How does it make you feel when other people do good things as well? And that can shine light on your own form of doing good. It gives context to the actions of why or what motivates the activity behind the person. Okay, so that's great. That's an excellent consideration and hopefully a calibration of our forms of giving. Yeah, what is inspiring us to give? Is it just that we look good in the eyes of others? If that's the case, then we don't want other people to do it. Yeah. So let's have a look at the next one. Yitnu acherib v'hu lo yitei. He wants others to do it, wants others to give, but he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't himself. He doesn't want to do anything himself. So this individual is somewhat negative in terms of themselves. They look problematically towards themselves. He views himself with an evil eye. Okay, what does this represent? What form? Why are we a little bit lighter with this individual? This sounds like a horrible person. Yeah, this sounds even worse than This is like, what's going on? The guy doesn't want to give, but he just wants everyone else to give. How do we understand this type of character?
He's a schnorrer.
He's a schnorrer. Why? So let me ask you, why is he not referred to as a rasha? Why is he not referred to as an evil person?
Because he still wants charity to be given. He just doesn't want to give it himself.
Good.
In other words, he wants to give, but not for himself.
Right. So what we're
It's not a rasha as such.
Rabbi?
Yes, Philip.
Maybe he can't give. Maybe he doesn't know how to give.
Yes, we're dealing with an individual who's a schnorrer. He doesn't know how to give. But this is the classic individual, that sits at the side there and offers his opinions and this needs to be done and that needs to be done, and has everything to say about the matter, but nothing to do themselves about the circumstance, And that's an individual who we say sees themselves with an evil eye. Sees themselves with an evil eye. There's a state where they feel so insecure about themselves, where the first form of insecurity is that you're doing, you still have a confidence in doing. Here, the individual is so insecure about themselves, they can't even give of themselves. But there is a redeeming quality here. And the redeeming quality is that they are still involved. they haven't let go. They still see the value of community, the value of looking after others, the value of moral discipline. And despite not being an individual that can give of themselves, they still want to motivate others to give. They still want to engage with creating a framework of movement and a dynamic state of connectivity through the community and through uplifting others. They themselves are not there yet. They themselves, find it difficult, but they want to motivate others. They feel somewhat passionate. They feel somewhat connected. So it's quite interesting. On one hand, we're seeing, listen, you can't just be the individual that sits on the side and has an opinion, but nothing to do about the matter. If you put your money where your mouth is. You want to talk about something, get it done. I'm sure Philip Weinstein, who was chairman of the Shul for very many years, can share with us, experiences of this within communal life. But the ability to be able to put your money where your mouth is. You want something done? Do it. Get it done. Get involved. You want to do it? You have an idea about something? Move with it. Have it affected within the community. And on the other hand, what we're seeing is there's a redeeming quality, that the individual is still passionate about the community. The individual is still passionate about engaging within that communal life. Yeah. So let's see if any other statements about this concept you want to share. Philip, anything you want to say about this there, Weinstein?
I'm good, thanks, Rolf.
Okay, good. So let's move on to the next one here. And that is Yitain v'yitnu acherim chassid. So we're dealing now with an individual that gives, and not only do they give of themselves, which is really the base of existence, where an individual is able to give of themselves, is able to feel connected to something bigger than themselves through giving of themselves, connecting to others, feeling, the compassion and resonating with humanity and with the community and with a bigger framework of things. But not only that, they don't suffice with their own giving. They also feel the necessity to motivate others to give as well. So it's not that they just say, you know what, this is a great thing, and I'm going to do it, and it makes them feel good about themselves. But they also want others to feel the light of being able to give and be able to be connected in that holistic scale of things. And that's an individual who's a chassid. It doesn't say that they're just a good person, but this is really a person that goes beyond, that they try and motivate others to also get involved, that they see others that are maybe too bashful, or maybe they haven't learned how to give, or maybe they don't understand the sensitivities or the pleasure within connecting beyond the self. So this individual tries and motivates others. And in fact, according to the Torah, we say that greater is the individual that catalyzes activity in others than the individual that just keeps to themselves. So to go along and motivate that form of activity in others is actually a higher form of giving, when a person is able to inspire that. It's like, what's greater? The person that says a blessing, or the person that says amen to the blessing? And the Gemara concludes, or it gives an analogy of what it's like. It's like, going out to war, and the initial soldiers coming out, that's the blessing. And the ones that finish it off, the one that says amen. So there's almost a unclarity as to what is better, But we see here that to be able to motivate, to get an amen from someone else, to be able to inspire others, not because it makes you feel good about yourself, but because intrinsically we're all connected. We want people to feel the life of giving. That's a chassid. Okay, that's an amazing individual that's very interconnected. And that gives us context as well in our own form of giving, where the initial state of giving, we said you give, but you don't want others to give because it doesn't make you look good if everyone else is giving. Here, this individual doesn't care, meaning the more the merrier. If they can completely become, invisible in this state of giving, that no one even needs to know that they're giving. They're happy just by virtue of the fact that they're engaging and giving. They don't need any accolades. They don't need any praise. They just, by virtue of bringing blessing into the world and feeling connected to other people and feeling like you're bringing good, is what they're happy about. They don't need any form of accolades. The more the merrier. Everyone else that gives, excellent. I feel good that others are giving as well. It doesn't make me feel less about myself, that now I'm not as high. You know, someone gave more than me, someone did more than me. No, and as long as I'm doing my best, and as long as I can motivate and help others, that's a very healthy level of engagement here, called the chesed. And the final element is lo yitain v'lo yitnu acherim. He doesn't give, and he doesn't want others to give either, is a rasha, is a wicked person. Now, my question to you, and we started off with this question, is how has this individual made it into the category of a giver? It says there are 4 elements of doing, 4 elements of giving. How is this individual who doesn't give and doesn't even motivate others to give, meaning his giving is not taking place through spending time to motivate others to give, which is a form of giving in itself, yeah, form of giving, the armchair giver. But what is taking place here, that this individual that doesn't give himself and doesn't want others to give falls into the category of a giver, yeah? So how can we explain this? Anyone have an idea here? How much creative juice is flowing there in your minds? Yeah, Philip. Is that
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Hashem actually gives everybody a chance, whether he's good or bad. He gives him a chance. So maybe he's been put there to see what's going on, and eventually he will see the light, and he will give. Because it might not be now, but it'll be later.
But we're saying that this individual now is a giver. There's an element of giving in them now. I hear what you're saying, Philip. You're saying maybe eventually he'll become a giver. Maybe there's an innate level of giving inside of this individual that hasn't been realized. Yeah. So you're saying, understand, even when you don't want to give, which is maybe something we can learn out from what Philip is explaining here. Even when an individual themselves doesn't feel like giving, innately understand that there is an element, an attribute of giving inside of you. That even when you don't feel like giving, you want to give. You feel good when you've given, you know, that you realize a deeper part of yourself when you've given. So that's an interesting take on that, Philip. Thank you for that. But let's see if there's any other insights here. Philip Weinstein. Yes.
Don't we mostly conjure up the idea when it comes to charity of it being financial charity? But what about this so-called wicked person that might be an enormous giver of other charitable methods other than financial, in terms of deeds?
Yeah, but I don't know if, so you're saying, why would you call him wicked though?
Yeah, because we wouldn't know if somebody doesn't give financial charity, that they're not doing other mitzvot and mitzvahs and chesed that is of a higher order than charity, or equal to that of charity.
So how?
Financial
charity.
charity.
Just explain how you understand.
So why would we term that person wicked? Why would we term that person wicked if they are giving charity in other forms?
Yeah. Okay. So it seems that he's giving no forms of charity. You know, that's how we understood.
None whatsoever.
Yeah. Nothing. Everyone has a level of what they can give. Everyone has a capacity of what they can give. Excuse me.
But giving of oneself in terms of chesed and good deeds, is that not something comparable?
Right. Well, the Gemara actually says that when you give charity to a poor person, you know, you get 6 levels of reward or 6 levels of attainment. When you smile at them and you say hello to them and you feel their pain and you engage with them, you get 11. Okay? So, you know, we see here that even the experience of looking a person in the eye and saying hello and saying, how are you? And you know, giving of your internal energy, you know, of your shining your light on that person is a form of charity, is a form of giving, you know, and everyone can do that. Everyone can. You know, on a practical level, you drive past, you know, one of those individuals that are asking, you know, for money, and you have nothing on you. Don't ignore them. You know, look at them, say, I have nothing, you know, but give them a blessing, give them some love, give them some, you know, some of your consciousness, some of your consideration, you know. Try and have something on you next time, but you know, it doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can't give them at that moment. And that's what we're seeing here. For sure, a person can always give, always. So here we're talking about a person that gives nothing, but still they're in the... Yeah.
Isn't it perhaps that I mean, I don't want to criticize the author of this, but it's not really that they are all donors, it's their attitude to charity. Good. In other words, this guy's attitude to charity is that he's not going to give and he doesn't want anybody to give. There's no such thing as charity. It's all wrong. I mean, wasn't that Sodom and Gomorrah's problem? Don't help another person. What's yours is yours. What's his is his.
Yes, very good, Alan. So in fact, I'm going to take what you said a step further. And that's the understanding here, that the way that it's explained is the individual that we're dealing with here is a person that gives, but they hate it. They hate giving. The only reason why they give is because they feel inadequate, that other people are giving and they're not. And they wish that people would stop giving. They wish that society would come into that state of Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, that a person doesn't have to engage with any form of giving, but it's only because everyone else, you know, is somewhat pinning their cards or getting involved or doing that motivates their form of giving. But if it was up to them, gosh, they would love for everyone to zip up their pockets and not engage with any form of giving so they could stop as well. So what we're seeing here is an individual that actually gives, but they give with resentment. They give with an animosity. They, you know, I have to give. You know, the Gemara says it's better that you don't give at all, you know, in that circumstance. You know, there's a story about, you know, giving a child giving to their father to fulfill the mitzvah of kibbud av v'em, you know, but they come there with this plate of food with a snarled look, you know, here's your food, you know. You've done even worse, you know. I prefer you not to even give. So for you to give in a circumstance where you're inspired by someone else to give, but it's only because you're somewhat coerced to do it, because otherwise you look like a, you know, really bad person. That's giving. You're still giving. But the individual's referred to as a rasha, you know, and I think it draws light into our own context of giving, you know, any forms of giving. If we really boil down all of our activity in this world, it either comes to a form of taking or a form of giving. And when we engage with prayer or learning Torah or whatever we do through a charitable means, is it giving or is it taking? Now, it could be classified as giving. So I could now pray or engage with the religious activity and connect to Hashem, but I'm only doing it because I'm in a framework or in a society where everyone else is doing it. But if everyone else wasn't doing it, I wouldn't do it. You know, so I'm only motivated because I feel compelled by the society that I'm in to do that form of activity. Now that's a person that's completely disconnected here. That's a rasha. That's a person that is not connected to their essence. And, you know, even though they're still doing, yeah. So I think these are four areas that we're seeing here. And just to, you know, summarize and conclude. So we have the initial individual that gives, they want to give. But the only reason why they want to give is because they want accolades. They want to feel important. They want to feel good about themselves. And in fact, if everyone else can't give and they're the only person that give, they're happier. You know, it's like they've struck gold. Look at me, you know. That's a individual that has some deficiency. There's something wrong in their form of giving. The second attribute is an individual that, you know, doesn't really do themselves, but they still feel connected. They still feel inspired to be involved with the community, to help with forms of giving. So they motivate others to give. They have opinions about giving, but they themselves aren't able to come to the party. They themselves are somewhat insecure or somewhat, lacking or lackluster in their ability to engage. But still, they fall into the context of giving, the motivator. They try and get others to give. They themselves don't. They have an opinion on everything. They want things to go a certain way. They're still involved, yeah? Which is still a redeeming quality. Then the highest level we saw was a level of a person that gives themselves, and they give for the right reasons because they feel connected. They feel a sense of oneness. They feel like that's their essence, the element of giving inside of them. And not only that, they motivate others to give. They feel connected to the bigger scale of things. They feel, that there is a holistic picture, and they want people to taste that, and they want people to get involved. That's a level of a chassid. Then the final level that we saw is an individual that gives because they are motivated by the society around them to give. But they themselves intrinsically think that they don't want to give. It's just that they have to, because otherwise they look horrible, And that gives context to our own forms of giving. That if a person is able to boil down to realize, why am I doing this action now? Is it a form of giving? Even in the form of giving, there are, colors, there are gradients of forms of giving. And what we're trying to do is get to the deeper level of understanding. And we can even find this in the final person that Philip brought out, Zetla, in understanding that even when you don't feel like giving, that final element there, that the guy doesn't give and doesn't want others to give, you still want to give. Understand that there's an intrinsic nature within a person that wants to give, that wants to engage. That's still a category. They should be able to give. I'll just conclude with a joke. There's a comedian that was on the airplane, and he was sitting in first class. He's been flown out for a show, and he's sitting on the airplane, and he thinks to himself, there's a soldier there, a soldier in the American army, and he's sitting there all the way in economy. You know what? What an amazing action it would be if I got out of my seat, my first class seat, and I walked over to the soldier and I said, listen, I have extreme admiration and gratitude for what you do for our country. Why don't you go and take my first class seat and I'll sit in your economy? Why don't you go and sit in the lap of luxury there, and you deserve it? And he said that for the rest of the flight, he just was so happy that he had that thought, He never went over to the soldier and asked him that to come and swap seats, but he felt so good about himself that, I'm such an amazing person. I had this thought, and he just was, ruminating on this goodness inside of him. Okay, maybe that's the last one. The element to even think about others is a good thing. There's an innate element inside of us. Do you take the plunge? Do you go for it? I'm not sure, but understand that intrinsically, there is an element of wanting to give and wanting to connect and being able to do so. And we also see sometimes a person needs to be motivated by their surroundings. We call that mitoch shelo lishma balishma. From the sake of not doing for the right reasons, a person can come to do things for the right reasons. So to motivate within that final capacity there is also an element of giving. All right, so we'll conclude there. Any final statements, insights, questions?
The one thing that seems to be missing from Mishnah is the element of that giving is a mitzvah. That it just seems strange that there's no reference to the mitzvah aspect.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept here. I think all of them are in some capacity dealing with the element of giving as a mitzvah. But what is a mitzvah? So this is a form of doing mitzvahs as well. These four categories can pertain to all forms of doing or giving, as we said. So even in the capacity of doing a mitzvah, why does a person do mitzvahs? So it can fall into the first category, makes them feel good about themselves. Look at society, so lost, so evil. I, on the other hand, am connected to God. I, on the other hand, am able to do the commandments of the Torah. Look how amazing I am. That's a form of doing a mitzvah. Then the second category is that, listen, I understand that mitzvahs should be done, but I'm not going to do them. I'll motivate and try and get others to do them, but I don't really, feel that it's for me. I'm not holding there yet. The next level is a person that does mitzvahs for the right reason. They feel connected to it. They feel that this is, who they are. They feel that this is part and parcel of life itself. It's not that here's a conceptual framework called a mitzvah. I connect to this. When you go visit someone in the hospital, or visit someone that's sick, you can come along and say, this is a mitzvah of visiting the sick. Or you can say, this is an intrinsic nature for me to connect, for me to feel another person's pain, for me to bring blessing to a person that's you don't even have to get to the category of a mitzvah. Yes, you understand that it's a mitzvah and it's part of your nature, but it's essential to you. It's your intrinsic nature. And the final one is a person that, no, I don't if I had the choice to do mitzvahs or not, I wouldn't do them. It's just that I'm surrounded by a situation, my family circumstance, my societal circumstance, my communal circumstance that motivates me to have to do this. But if I had the choice, I wouldn't do it. So that's what we're saying here. This colors all forms of activities of giving, which falls into the elements of mitzvahs. Yeah, it's not only the element of charity that we're dealing with here. Yeah. So thank you for that question. All right, Chedra, yes, Filippo.
One more thing. The person who gives because he's afraid of the commandments that if he doesn't give, he'll get punished. Which category is that?
That's an excellent question, Philip. That's an excellent question. Where does a person fall into the category of fear? They give from the element of fear, meaning they feel motivated to give because they don't want to be punished. So they're somewhat doing it from a selfish means. They're not motivated by the intrinsic element of giving. So it most likely falls into the final category, that a person gives because they don't want to give, but it's just that they're motivated by an externality that causes them to give, which is the people around them. But not only the people around them. If they don't give, they feel horrible about themselves. People make fun of them. They're ostracized from the community. They feel less than. Same too when a person's motivated to give because they're afraid of punishment. That seems to be an external form of motivation, not an internal form of motivation. Yeah, so I think it would fall into the category of a rasha, a wicked person. Yeah, thank you for that.
And if those people actually gave, they would see the benefit of giving, and they would give more. There are stories about that people are so tight they don't want to give anything, and once they give something, then they get all the blessings, and they see that what they've done is good, and that's a very progressive thing.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Thank you for that, Philip. Shkoyach.